Okay, for this episode, it's a little bit more of on a somber note because, unfortunately, after recording this episode with the lovely Wagner, he has since passed away, and obviously we work out from the family that we have their blessing and their permission to still publish his episode because this is something that he would have wanted. And I think when you watch the episode, which I have done, I've watched it back, you'll agree that it's something that he would want. Now, the reason I'm adding this personal note to it isn't just as a nod to Wagner himself, but it's also just a reminder as to why we're doing these podcasts. The term evergreen is thrown around quite a bit with why we do these podcasts, but this really compounds that point further because this is probably one of the last recordings of Wagner, and is going to be a last recording for all of us and for our loved ones, our siblings, our kids, what have you. It says a lot about how we think, what excites us, what legacy we want to leave in the world. So for me, when I started this podcast, all these things were on my mind, but it has only just been reinforced by this situation. And Wagner is a young man, so for me, I found it quite upsetting, and it bothered me that be the case. But it's really reinforced my why as to why we're doing these podcasts, why we all have a story, why it should be out there for the world to see what we're trying to do, the way we think, what we want to change, what makes us unique. So please bear that in mind when you watch any of these episodes, but especially this particular episode, which I'm proud to put out for Wagner, thanking him for his time and his partner and family's support. Thank you very much. Happy Tuesday, Wagner. How are you?
Oh, happy Tuesday. Actually, here in Brazil, it's still Monday. It's Monday night. And well, really good. Really happy to be in here and well, really, really excited.
I nearly said Monday myself because here in Australia, Monday was a bank holiday. So this is our first day of work, if you like. And so about six.
Oh,
If I'd actually made the error of saying Happy Monday, I would have had it right for you in Brazil.
okay, I gotcha.
Whereabouts in Brazil are you?
Well, I'm from São Paulo. There is the hugest city in the country. Everybody when think about Brazil thinks about Rio or Amazonas with the forest and the water, but São Paulo is a really really huge city, like maybe New York City or uh, other huge city like Montreal and Toronto. It's a it's a it's a forest, but with concrete. Sure.
I've been to Sao Paulo twice actually, and it is an interesting city because I found, yes, you're right, it's very populated. Um, but when I got there is when Brazil was having an economic spike. So
Hmm.
there's a big difference between the people driving the Ferraris and the homeless that was all over the place. A big
Yeah.
poverty gap. Is that still the
Yeah.
same?
Yeah, actually here the middle class is really really small. We have a lot of people that is poor per person, and we have a small part of persons that are rich, but they have really money on their pockets. You know, even in São Paulo, the city that I'm came from, I'm from a poor part of the city is the west zone, and it's so far from the center, maybe 2 or 3 hours on the train. It's the huge the difference when you go to the downtown areas or the richest areas of the city, you know. I think it's different of another countries when you think about US or even Australia that probably have a middle class with a lot of persons that have the same conditions, but in Brazil it's different.
Yeah, it was a shame to see. In all fairness, I did like my time there, but it was a shame to see. And you notice it when you travel around the world. Each city and country has its own demographic and identity, and when you're there all day, every day, you sort of desensitize yourself to your surroundings, and and what makes it different and unique. So,
Hmm.
anyway, what makes Wagner different and unique?
Oh, that question actually. Well, I guess it's the first time that we were spoken, so nice to meet you. I'm Wagner Andrade, 23, from São Paulo. A huge fan of Corinthians. This is a thing that I like to say. This is my football team here in Brazil. It's part of my identity. And what makes me so different is where I came from. When it came from Latin countries, we have that hit thing when we see other persons, we touch them, we talk with them, and we grow with this. And even in the work way, when I'm working at my job, this is a thing that I carry with me so deeply, and this is one of the things that make Wagner so unique.
Okay, all right. Who did you say your football team was?
Oh, from here in Brazil,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's questions, I guess. Um, well, I'm still in a college right now. Is my last year. At first, I start cursing mechatronic. From the I always saw myself as an engineer when I was at the school, and this changed so big by now. Um, I was looking maybe for Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and think, oh, I want to be those guys. And this is one of the first thing that I thought when I go to the engineer school, college actually, and see how this totally changed between those years since the first day that I arrived at the college, and I switched for journalism. There's what I'm studying right now, and social communication. Oh, it's exciting to see how when I'm still young, but it's interesting to know when you're younger, you think you know everything will going to happen in your life, and every single thing are going to be this way, and the life just arrives, and man, this is not gonna happen the way that you was thinking. And I was thinking about it this day one or two that I was talking with my girlfriend about it.
That's interesting. So you've had quite a significant shift in your life already, and as you said, you're still young and you're still in those realms of education. I remember
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to change my degree halfway through, and polar opposites as well. But I chose not to. In my case, I thought I'll finish what I started and do that. Is there a regret? Probably not. But it does put some significance on yourself of changing something that's polar opposite midway through. Um, did you have any regrets about that, or is it a case that you literally have had a life lesson midway through your studies?
It's interesting thing that in the same way that I was saying to you that I want to be that guy that the computer guy and this kind of thing. Actually, deeply in myself, I always want to be part of the art and communication group, and I was always wondering myself, how can I achieve that, and how can I grab this opportunity that is a deeply inside of me, and I was studying other things in my life. I was thinking to follow other careers, and one day I was at home, and there is the invasion in the American Congress, and because of a Brazilian journalist was there, and she was covering the whole thing, and she's inside the Congress, and whoa, she's wonderful. Her name is Raquel. She's wonderful, and I was wondering, I can do this. Maybe I cannot be a journalist as she does, journalism as she does, but maybe I can be right there. I can do this thing either, and I guess was the turning point in my life to think in another ways and see, oh, maybe I don't need to do what my fathers want me to do. Maybe I can do what I feel in my deeply heart.
Okay, so it's about realigning your purpose and really you're sort of learning yourself as you go.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel? then, okay, just hypothetically speaking, that
Mhm.
perhaps you'll have another significant shift a little bit later down the line?
Oh, sure, I guess. Well, we never know what will going to happen else in our life. So now I could accept more a change or a shift more easily than I did in the past. Because I guess now I have this in my mind that well, everything could happen, and I need to be prepared. Even if I don't prepare for those things, I need to know that well, this could switch my life so hard, and it's okay. I can handle with this.
Good.
Even
I think you're right. It's okay, and this is the thing, especially different cultures, but it is also very common. And I've got lived experience of this myself, of how difficult it is to change your studies halfway through. Okay,
Mhm,
your focus, which sets you up for your career, but also the other thing you touched on there is your family's expectations.
mhm,
And culturally, in some countries, there's no wiggle room. Your father tells you to do something, and you're halfway through it. You've got to do that, otherwise you're disowned.
yeah,
These are big things, but ultimately, it's you that lives your life, and it has to be by design. And I think your story is testimony to it being okay to shift that somewhat.
hmm yeah. I guess for younger adults, this is a high pressure. The family, the family pressure. It's so high, so deeply in young adults that they don't see. I was wondering this which point of my life to now I see myself as an adult. 'Cause I know that I'm adult right now, but was a years since I completed 18. But I don't saw myself as an adult since one day that I was working on my own stuff, on my own career, and I put away that family pressure that I need to be this or need to be that, and say, "Well, this is my life. I'm going to yeah." It's now to know. It's good to know what your mama was thinking, what your father already lived in the past is cool to have this on your baggage, but it's your life. You need to do your own choices, and but was a little bit hard to figure this in my life as an adult, because nobody tell you this in the schools. Nobody know your family doesn't tell you that you need to move around, you need to pay a rent, that you need to pay your own schools, that you need to work. This is whoa. When I figured that out, oh, so this is being an adult right now. I can do my own choices, but I need to also pay the rent. I need to also to pay the school, to pay the college. Well, why you guys don't keep me as a child, man? Uh,
Actually, that's quite an interesting point, because I know when I studied, everything that happened, I paid for myself, and for me, that was normal. That was it's these are my choices. I'm eating this food, I'm enjoying this rent, I'm choosing to put myself through university, so it's my responsibility. But what is more and more common these days is this. This is paid for by the parents, so there's an expectation from the child of the parents. Well, actually, you know what? You need to pay for me to go there. I need all my overhead, so I don't need to work. Da, da, da. And I think that's good that you're not doing that, because as you hit the nail on the head with your terminology, is you're not a child anymore. you know, and that's a healthy way of being, and a good part of you learning and becoming from a child to a man, which you've needed to do to change your mind. You redirect your career. That's you becoming an adult. That at that moment, that's your adulthood. That's big tick. You wouldn't have been able to do that if they were paying for it. Okay. So you would have remained a child, albeit you're learning your curriculum for life, which is a weird paradox, because it doesn't make any sense. But for you to go through the stresses and challenges of your decisions whilst you're studying, it just exacerbates that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's make a lot of sense, because some parts of your life, some days you are just living and go with the flow, but it's so important to figure and thinking about those things, about to, whoa, I live this, and whoa, check. Like for example, I work on a TV here in Brazil, and it's always my dream to be a reporter and this kind of thing. And during this opportunity was really really awesome for me. I interviewed some bands, um, and appeared on a TV show here. It's more like talk show, but I was helping on that front and being a producer, and was I guess it was the first time of being an adult that whoa, I did what I want to do. Happens on a really good way, and whoa, maybe I can check and wonder what I lived, what I passed, and just not go with the flow and see where my choices being me right become in the way that where that my choices bring me. This
Mhm.
was the first time as an adult that I wonder and see on the front of the coin and say, "Well, this is you have those sweet parts of life."
We do, and to acknowledge that there is cause and effect, and to own your decisions and responsibilities. The
Hmm.
sooner people understand that, in my opinion, some people go through their whole life not understanding the relationship of cause and effect. They go into being old age and they're still blaming everybody else but themselves. Okay, but when we realise that we're part of cause and effect, and our surroundings are determined by this, then it's a healthy state of being. So, okay, so let's fast forward a few years. Okay, will you be reporting on the next riot in the United States, or what's next?
Well, actually, now I'm working with social media and advertisement producer with a company from Canada. I also like this. It's a funny way when you say about the cause and effect. Also, when I was growing up, I always think about me working in a film industry, with even in TV shows, advertisement. But I always think me as a director, maybe a producer. But I think it's also expensive in Australia. But here in Brazil, it's so expensive to work on that wave and to this part of filming. We don't have a really huge field for jobs and works in Brazil. And so I decided to engineer, so journalism. And now I am working a little bit, yeah, but I'm assistant. But I'm working a little bit with the thing that I always dream to work, And now my heart's really shaped between I love journalism, I love being a reporter, and I think about to maybe be in Sydney or Melbourne or Rome, talking about a huge news, huge history. This is what we seek in journalism school. But I'm also really enjoy what I'm doing now. I also like this part of social media management. This is even by now that we are working up. We were living in a world that the social media rule what we are doing, what we're living, what we are seeing every single day. And I got this two things in my heart that in my mind. One, it's became the best reporter of the world. Yeah, it's a huge goal. But, we need to think about to think on that way. And the other is to here in the social medias and even work in production, films, television, advertisement that I'm working right now. And but I know that I will going to find myself at some point. And what you told me a few minutes ago? It's I need I always need to be open for new opportunities, for new changes, because we never know where lives will go and who put us in the future.
And I think that's right. I think is if you're open to how life meanders, because for example, you could go into journalism, but with technological advances and a shift in how the world's structured, the way we report and the way we journal could be completely different in just 5 years' time. And your skills could then be obsolete
Hmm.
if you're not careful. So even in that circumstances, your hand is forced. It's not so much from the heart; it's from external circumstance. You know, and to have that ability to change and adapt is priceless. And the good thing is, and I remember having this debate with some good friends of mine when I was at university. They were studying business. I was studying psychology, sociology. Okay. None of them went into business. I did. And I used to argue with them after a couple of beers, cerveza. Okay. I used to argue with them, why are you studying business to be in business? Because the whole premise of business is to not offer the same thing, is to be different. If you're studying the same thing, you all graduate at the same time, you're going to achieve nothing. You're at the beginning again. Whereas if I choose to go into business, I've now got some other skills and learnings to apply to that, which makes me different in business. Now, in your case, you're in journalism, you've got an engineering mindset. Okay.
Hmm.
There can't be that many journalists that understand mechatronics, robotics, engineering. You go in and something where that combines at some point, you'll be the only one that does it. You know.
Yeah, and if we think that at what works, we need to have many tools to be a good worker, to be a nice professional. How if you have how many tools do you have in for you be a better worker? A better worker you be. So since I have that engineering mentality and journalism mentality and production mentality, if those things combined, will always help me to be a better professional, a better person actually. But when we are talking about jobs and working, I think this is the key to be there where I want to be in the top.
Mm. Yeah, I like it. I like it. And do you, just out of curiosity, do you think Brazil will be your home forever? Yeah, I know you'll never say never, but do you have plans to live in other countries and take your skills elsewhere?
Oh no, no! I always see myself for the world. Maybe in the streets in Melbourne or in the pub in Irish. I this is what I seek. What I always see myself in that front. I love Brazil. It's my hometown, my home way. I always will be love this country and the peoples that live here. But I think this my main goal. My goal in the future is to live in another countries. Not not just for live in other countries, but it's so important since we live in a country with so diverse of cultural cultures. It's we need to have this shock, to arrive in another country and say, oh, they do this ways. It's so different that I do in Brazil, but it's not a wrong way or right way, but it's just different, and you need to learn. You need to be there and watch, observe, and see what you learn about different cultures, different countries, and this is what I'm always seeking for this day for to my last day.
Okay, all right. And before we wrap up, then, so anybody listening to this, um, that are in their early stage studies or they're planning to go to university, they're at that sort of age. And let's just say they're from a society, a culture which is very
Mhm.
strict on what the parents say and the expectations. What would be your advice to them as they go in, and there's potential change or what have you? What would you say to them?
I know there is a pressure that we need to go to the college at 18 and get married at 30 and have a child at 40. I don't know, 35. But I really really believe this that things happen in the time that needs to be happening. It's tough to deal with this pressure, but as soon as you know how to do it or you learn how to do it, you can watch it yourself and say, well, maybe I don't need to do this right now, or maybe, well, I can wait for 1 or 2 years, or maybe, well, I can switch my job. I don't know. I don't. I don't need to do this just because the society are telling me to do this, or my family are telling me to do in this way. I know it's a tough thing to be in that way and confront people that you love or confront ideas that you always have on your mind and the people always tell you this kind of thing. But you always need to look at yourself and see, whoa, I really need to do this right now. uh, I can do what with all the things that happened with me, and always trying to look at yourself first, than to give the response to the other person's. Because the only person that really counts in your life is yourself. See what you need to do, take your time, and go for it.
Love it. Okay. And anybody listening to this where your story resonates with them and they'd like to communicate with you, how should they best make contact with you, Wagner?
On my IGs, actually, always on that front, posting and this kind of thing. It's WAG under Andrade.
Perfect. All right. Well, when this we do publish this, you can maybe put your contact details in
Sure,
the
sure.
chat as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, brilliant. Excuse me, I'm a little bit croaky today, but thank you very much. I've enjoyed having a conversation with you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the inviting.